Hey guys, just put together a quick video here to help show you how to use and set up your deviation software on your Devo 10. Go ahead and download the Deviation EMU Devo 10 for the current version 4.01 or whatever version you like, but I'm going to be showing you how to walk through the latest official. It's pretty basic. It's just basically a zip file you'll download and you'll extract. I just keep mine to my desktop. You go ahead and here in your file system, Devo 10 folder. This is all the folders and directories that you'd find on your Devo. So any model icons that you have, you can work on them here on your computer, make sure everything works right, and then copy those via the USB to your Devo 10. So you see here's your listing all your models. You can go ahead and edit them here if you need to. Sometimes it's convenient to edit things in the notepad. I find it's okay to tweak them once you first make them, but I find it's kind of it's basically a blank slate until you start making settings, so it's kind of less than intuitive on what to edit if you're just going straight into the ini file. My opinion anyways of that, but once you've made it, it starts to get populated and you can edit it pretty well. I'm not going to cover that today, but let's go ahead and click on our emulator. Go ahead and kick it up. Just a couple of things why I like the emulator. It's not really drag and drop, point and click like OpenTX emulator is. It really, software is. The TX companion, I should say. What it is though is it's a exact replica of what you do on your Devo 10. You don't have to have it plugged in. And I find it easier, but not only that, I find it's really invaluable with the always-on kind of monitor right here. So, you can always go into your Devo 10 menu, transmitter menu, channel monitor, and you can kind of see the channel output. And this is important because this is what it's sending to the servos, to the receiver, I should say. Versus a lot of people get tripped up with this next menu. This is, because it's titled, throttle, aileron, elevator, whatnot. This is what the sticks are doing, but it's got nothing to do with what the transmitter is actually receiving. This previous screen here, this is the one that shows you what's going on. Now when you're in the standard mode that we're talking about here, you really can't adjust this. I just actually found out. So the channel order for me is a little bit strange in simple mode. I've actually only used it in the simulator, in which case you can pick your inputs anyways. When I do utilize this, I usually do it with the advanced mode, in which case you can directly pick your channel assignments to match whatever your bind and fly model is or receiver is requesting. But just for the sake of showing you how to use the standard interface, we're not going to focus on that too much right now. So just to show you, when you're looking at this, you see over here we got the the channel 1 is going up and down. You'll notice that I'm in helicopter mode, so my channel 1 and channel 6, which I think Spectrum likes to call that, and I am in DSMX configuration, so maybe that's why the channel assignments are like this. So apologize if that's confusing, but you can see the inputs are actually happening. And what's nice is you can see down here these channel assignments 1 and 6 are going just like they are on the screen, and likewise I can tell that my left vertical is going up to 100%. So this is showing you the throws of what the actual sticks and switches are doing. This is showing you what the receiver is going to output. This makes a lot more sense in the advanced GUI because you can adjust and configure all that, so you have some options of setting it up wrong. Don't really have that in the standard GUI, but I wanted to start with that because it's maybe the most comfortable for some people to put together. Go back to the main menu here. You got some indicators, like when you click your rudder, elevator, and aileron dual rates, you see the little switch kind of shows you on the screen what's happening, but you'll notice also anything there that says 100, that's the selected mode. So when I keep toggling my, when I'm in rudder dual rate 0, in my mind that's off. You see everything's at 100%. when I do toggle it and you see the icon come in over here, you'll see down here that dual rate selection 1, dual rate 1, that's got the 100%. So they could have been like checked, unchecked, but that's how the software shows it. 100% is what's selected, negative 100 is what's not selected. I guess 100% on, negative 100 is totally off. So that's how that's done. And then you see when you come over to your mixes, when you hit that, you'll see it shows you, it toggles the 100% goes to what state you're in. And then your flight modes does the same piece. And depending upon what you've got with your mixes and whatnot set up, you'll notice as I go through the channel 7 is what's mapped to the mix in standard mode. When I do that, you're going to see I go from 100 to negative 100 to 40. Those are some values that just get triggered from the software. So let's go ahead and actually take a look at what this software menu looks like. So you're going to go ahead, and if you're in standard mode, this is the nice simple menu you're going to get. Now I will show you real quick how to get to the standard setup if you're not in it, which by default I don't believe you will be. You'll go ahead and click on model setup, which is always the first option in this menu, so that won't be different even if you're in the advanced. You go ahead and just scroll down. Now for some reason the standard menu is only available for helicopter mode. So even if you're going to be flying a plane, once you select standard mode, it will put your model type to heli. It's actually not a big deal. It just it looks like it does map the throttle and probably the pitch channels like I was just showing you in the monitor screen, but it doesn't throw anything off if you just ignore it. Really what it's going to do is it'll add a second setup for swash setup. Just leave it alone and you can fly your planes, multicopters, whatever, but just bear in mind it's just one of the things that gets confusing. It's not totally fixed like in other scenarios. It really just gives you the Swashplate modeling adjustment. So we go down here, you can choose your protocol, and then if you do need to bind it, here's where you actually go ahead and click this bind button. In doing so, that kind of puts it in bind mode, and then you have to put your bind plug in your model. Here's where you pick the number of channels you want to output. Default is 7, so you can change that, add more channels if you want to. This is really where you go ahead and you just choose GUI type, whether it's the standard or the advanced. Keep in mind that if you are in the standard and you get your model set up and you want some more features, you can change this to advanced, and it will happily take all your settings, convert them to advanced mode, and then give you more options. However, you can't nicely go from advanced down to standard. If you do, it will nicely let you know it's going to erase everything, and it will erase it. So just keep that in mind. You can't take an advanced model and bring it down to standard. But here's where you select that you want it to be in the standard mode, and you'll notice that you are, because when you go back to this first menu screen, you'll have these options. So I'll show you again. You go into the menu, hit enter, hit model menu, and here you go. So for me, this is a pretty simplified menu, pretty much like you'd find on your Spectrum radios, which is what I was using before the Deviation. So I will refer back to them because that's where I've got my experience. This is real simple. Model setup we just looked at. Reverse, nothing major here. This is where you reverse your controls, whether it's reverse to normal, just like any other radio. I'm going to skip dual rate because that's what I want to actually show you how to set up. The sub trim, that's just like what you'd normally do. It helps you find the center point of your servo throw. Travel adjustment, again, this is the maximum amount of throw in each direction, so if you find that your servos are binding or whatnot, you can reduce the throw in that direction to keep the servos from whining. If you just want to overall just limit your throttle travel, your servo travel, you can do it here as well. I would recommend doing it where I'm going to show you in a minute, but you can do it here. It's not going to hurt anything. Throttle curves set up just like a Spectrum radio would. What you do is you pick your flight mode, his normal, idle up 1, idle up 2, and you go down here and you pick your individual points on the graph that shows you how to set up your curve. if people really want me to show you how to set up the throttle and pitch curves, I guess comment below, whatever. I'll do a second video just for that. That can get kind of cumbersome, and I think a lot of people just want to fly planes. So we'll kind of just leave it to the guys that know how to do their curves. This is the screen you'd go to do it in a fairly similar fashion. Pitch curve, same difference. You pick your idle up and whatnot. So that's where you can adjust those. Throttle hold. This is very similar to a Spectrum radio, where you just basically say if you want to enable it or not. So you can either say, no, I don't want to have any throttle hold, or in my case, I'm going to put it on, and the default is negative 110. Is when you engage throttle hold, that's where you get it. You know, in a regular Spectrum, you have more of like a throttle pitch curve kind of chart looking screen for that. This is really telling you the same thing. You just pick the value that you want the transmitter to relay when you engage that switch. Likewise with the gyro, you got two options here. You can either put on the gear switch or the auxiliary. They're calling it auxiliary 2 channel 7. It really is the mix switch though, and it's a 3 position. So by default, you're going to get 70, 50, and 0 is your percentages for the 3 positions of that gyro. But again, you can easily just position those to whatever you want. But if you want to know how to set up the different values, it's pretty simple. You just go to this menu here and set them as you wish. Swashplate, again, this is for helicopters. This is the default. Pretty much no mixing is set up. A 3 servo 120, 3 servo 90. I think is a pretty common one actually, but we can cover that in another video if needed. Fail safes. This sets up when your receiver loses connection to your transmitter. You can set the values that you want the transmitter to the flight controller to automatically receive, or the receiver I should say. So it'll automatically put the throttle at 0, say negative, put your aileron, whatever you want to put them at. Switch assignment. This is really one of the beefier places I think that you'll want to adjust. So we'll come back to look at that. Timers, no big deal here. This is where you select. You just keep scrolling down. You got 4 timers, stopwatch, counters. Timer 1 is actually going to be set to engage itself as a countdown timer on the channel 1. You can't adjust this in standard mode other than to turn it off. You can in the advanced, so we'll look at that. Here's where you just pick your time. What this is going to do, and you'll hear some beeps as the tutorial goes on, as you use the throttle channel, it will begin your countdown. When you put it back to 0, it'll actually pause the timer, which is actually pretty cool because it's going to help you time the actual flight time, not how much time was going on. So if you had to land and make some adjustments, it's really not killing battery, so the timer doesn't go with that. You got the normal stopwatches. That's your timers. Those are easy to play around with. The manual does a pretty good job explaining what those were. Telemetry is where you configure that if you're using it. I've got it turned off in this scenario. Data log, again, if you want to use it, I don't mess with this too much, but this is where you would enable it, reset it, so on and so forth. Okay, and lastly, we got the main page config. Again, this is probably another video. This lets you pick what gets displayed on the main screen. So rather than go through all the options for this video, I'll just showcase what you've seen on this screen is chosen by that other screen. So for example, you can see when I click my dual rates, they show up. That's because the main page configuration shows it. Honestly, the out-of-the-box configuration is pretty good. So I would just say, let's just use that, and then if you really need to tweak it, that's how you go ahead and do it. Alright, so important things first. Let's go up and actually hit the important items. Alright, so here we're going to go in, we're going to edit our dual rate. You can toggle through all the different control surfaces. I've already gone ahead and set these up with 80% travel and 30% expo when engaged. Normal mode, I like to keep it at 100% with no expo, but you could adjust this accordingly to suit your flying style. You can, sometimes people do like, maybe like 5 to 10% expo in their normal flying conditions. Sometimes I add that. I generally like to just have complete control over the control surfaces in normal mode, and then once I go into the dual rate engage mode, I usually start with 80% travel and 30% expo, and you just go ahead and just left and right toggles all the channels. I've already got them kind of preset, and that lets you control what you have. Now, the last other thing that I wanted to really show you is the switch assignment. Now, you'll notice I only had a single entry for my my dual rates. That's because when I went down this screen, I had set it up to be the dual rate for my rudder. It's going to control all of them. But let's go through. So you get your flight mode. They call it fly mode. You pick which switch adjusts that out of the box. I think flight mode is great for that. That's what it is. Throttle hold, they've got it assigned to the gear switch. Gyro, they've got it assigned to the mix switch, which is great because, as we saw, it's got 3 possible positions. So the mix switch gives us 3 positions. And what I like to do is I like to just set up my dual rates on one switch. But you could set it to be unique, if you wanted to put this on the aileron and the elevator switch, respectively, so you can individually control your dual rates. Totally doable. This is what you do. You just toggle it. I do like to have it on all of them. Just bear in mind that if you were to pick a 3-position switch, for example, I'll just go ahead and pick flight mode. You gotta hit enter on this screen or it doesn't save it. Now you'll notice when I go back up to the dual rate expo, on my aileron, I now have 3 positions. It's kind of weird that they call it normal, idle up 1, idle up 2, but I guess, that is, kind of standard with the 3-position switches. I just think of idle up as being only in the throttle channel. That's just me. But I am going to go back and quickly adjust my switch assignment so that my rudder dual rate controls all of these. So let's go ahead and go back to the main screen here. And just to illustrate what's kind of going on, to make sure everything's set, I'm going to go ahead and just start cranking the values of my channels. So you see I put everything up to 100%, and when I engage my dual rate switch, as you can see by the dual rate and the fact that dual rate 1 gets the 100 value, you can see that I in fact get channels 2, 3, and 4 are now going down to 80%. As you might recall, that's what we had set on the dual rate expo configuration screen. And likewise, when I pick my gear, which is this one actually, you'll see my throttle. When I go to gear, you can see that engaged is now engaged. You'll notice my channel automatically goes to negative 110%. So just another way you can monitor your outputs that you have down here. I guess that's pretty much it in a nutshell. If you've got any comments, questions, if I made a mistake, feel free to point it out. And if I need to, I'll recut the video and fix any of the errors that I had. Hopefully it shows you a quick and easy way to kind of adjust your transmitter. Once your model's set in the emulator, you want to copy it to your transmitter. Simply go into the Devo10 models folder. You want to confirm, because they're going to be titled model 1 through 30. You can actually put more models. Just go to 31, 32 until you run out of space. That'll happily take that. But if you want to know what model you're trying to copy, just double click it and it'll give you the name right here. So we just went ahead and did that test. You can see we're in standard mode, DSMX, 7 channels, the ID, yada yada, all that stuff that we just set up is sitting right here. If you do want to change your dual rate, I'm trying to find one. So let's say I wanted to go ahead and just really tweak the rudder and didn't really want to fire up the simulator, or I could just go ahead and change this to a 70 or a 65 or whatever, and then the expo just just keep these the same. I generally find because it's going to be here's your negative, here's your positive. If for whatever reason you did want to have more expo on one side of the control, you could just do, you could do 30, 70, you could do whatever you wanted to, but generally, you keep the same. So you could tweak it here and then just save it. But really all you got to do is just take model 4 any, copy it, paste it into the same location, to the models folder on your Devo, and you're good to go. Thanks guys. If you have any questions, comments, just leave it in the video description or hit me up on the RC groups.